All right, let's jump right in. We're going to break down a huge, almost seismic shift happening in warfare right now. It's really a story about how cheap, almost disposable technology is starting to challenge some of the most advanced, most expensive military hardware on the planet.
And it all starts with this simple, but honestly shocking economic problem. You've got an Iranian drone on one side, right? Costs about 20 grand. But the US interceptor missile needed to shoot it down, that's a cool $4 million. I mean, that's a 200 to 1 cost difference. You can already see how this creates a massive, massive strategic problem.
So this brings us right to our first big idea, the basic math of air defense. It's just fundamentally broken. When the thing you're using to attack is that much cheaper than the thing you need to defend with, the old rulebook just gets thrown out the window.
Yeah, and there's a really sharp way one analysis put it. They said Western militaries are, quote, winning tactically but losing strategically on cost and magazine depth. So, what does that actually mean? Well, it means, sure, you're shooting down the drones, that's the tactical win, but you're burning through your very limited, very expensive missiles to do it, and that's the strategic loss. Your magazine depth, your stockpile, is just draining away at a rate you just can't keep up with.
And this is where the numbers just get completely wild. You see how a cheap drone swarm on offense forces the defender to spend just an insane amount of money. So an attacker can send 100 of these drones for, what, maybe $2 million bucks? But to stop that swarm, you might need 100 Patriot missiles. That's $400 million. That imbalance it's just not sustainable, not in the long run.
Now you gotta understand, this isn't just some random flaw in the system. Oh no. This is a deliberate strategy. It's called attrition warfare. And the whole point isn't to win some big dramatic battle. The goal is to literally bankrupt your enemy, to bleed them dry by forcing them to spend and spend until they just run out of resources, run out of will to fight.
And this economic strategy, it's not happening by accident. It's actually being weaponized by what some are calling the axis of attrition. You see, this isn't just about one country flying some cheap drones. This is about a strategic partnership designed specifically to crank up this economic pressure. And a huge part of that partnership is the link-up between Russia and Iran.
I mean, intelligence reports are showing that Russia is basically acting as an intelligence concierge for Iran. Think about that. They're handing over real-time satellite imagery to help track U.S. ships. They're sharing battle-tested tactics from Ukraine, like how to use drone swarms effectively. And they're even providing Russian tech upgrades to make these Iranian drones tougher and way harder to jam.
And what this partnership creates is just this extreme, almost unbelievable asymmetry on the battlefield. Get this, in one incident, 2 drones, right? Maybe $60,000 total. They reportedly took out a radar system worth over $1 billion. You do the math on that. That's a cost exchange ratio of more than 30,000 to 1. It's just mind-blowing.
Okay, so how on earth do you counter that? Well, the first big solution we're going to look at tackles the problem head-on by just radically changing the cost of defense. Basically, if you can't afford to keep firing million-dollar missiles, you need to find a whole new way to shoot. Enter the laser beam. Right, so instead of firing these super expensive interceptors, new systems are all about directed energy, and the difference is just night and day. A missile, $50,000 to $4 million a pop. A high-energy laser, we're talking a few cents of electricity per shot. As long as you've got a generator running, you've basically got unlimited ammo.
And this is real. Take Israel's Iron Beam system. It's said to be the first of its kind to really come online. It's a 100-kilowatt laser designed to zap drones, rockets, mortar shells right out of the sky. Now, look, it's not a silver bullet. Bad weather like fog or clouds can mess with it, but it complements the existing Iron Dome system. It's a totally new, and crucially, a much cheaper layer of defense.
So the point is, this kind of technology just completely flips the script on that cost equation we were talking about. I mean, as Israel's defense minister said, it flat out changes the rules of engagement. Okay, so that's solution 1, building a better, cheaper shield. But what if? What if instead of just defending, you could turn your opponent's own weapon right back against them? And that's the idea behind the second big shift we're seeing.
So U.S. forces were facing this totally unsustainable cost exchange, right? They were stuck in this trap where every time they successfully defended themselves, they were actually getting poorer and closer to running out of missiles. They needed a totally new way of thinking.
And the answer? It was to basically flip the script entirely. The process was simple but genius. First, they got their hands on an Iranian Shahed drone. Then, they took it apart, piece by piece, and reverse engineered it. And finally, they created their own American copy, called Lucas. Suddenly, they had their own version of the very weapon being used against them.
And the best part? It cost about the same as the original, somewhere in the $30,000 to $40,000 range. So now the US can put the exact same kind of economic pressure right back on its adversaries. Instead of shooting a $4 million missile, they could send out a cheap drone of their own.
You see, this completely turns the asymmetry on its head. It forces the other side to start using their expensive air defense systems to shoot down our cheap drones. It takes their own strategy of attrition and turns it right back against them. So this shift, moving away from these incredibly expensive shields and towards lots of cheap spears, it signals a really profound change in military thinking. We're not just talking about a new gadget here, we're talking about a whole new philosophy of war. The future, it seems, is all about cheap mass.
So the old logic was what they called the kill chain. It was linear. A specific sensor sees something and it tells a specific shooter to go get it. The new logic is called the kill web. It's way more distributed. Now any sensor can talk to any shooter. And the most important change in thinking is this. The goal is no longer to use the most capable weapon for every job. It's to use the cheapest sufficient weapon first. You save the fancy, expensive stuff for when you really, really need it.
So here's the bottom line, the really crucial takeaway. Victory in the future might not go to the side with the fanciest, most advanced tech. It might just go to the side that can best endure the economic strain of a long fight. It seems like the era of just achieving superiority through spending, well, that era's over.
What this new reality really emphasizes is industrial capacity. It's about having large, easily replenishable inventories of low-cost drones, not a few precious, exquisite missiles that take years and years to build. We're seeing this fundamental shift toward valuing scalable, affordable systems.
And all of this leaves us with a really provocative final question, something to chew on. What really makes a superpower in the 21st century? Is it the country with the best, most advanced technology? Or is it the one with the biggest, most efficient factory?